Hi, I'm John. I have ADHD and it's very weird, per se. So I went and asked other people with ADHD and some people that deal with ADHD patients some questions about ADHD. First, let's talk to the doctors.
A patient living with ADHD on a day-to-day basis, it kind of feels like something around you is always distracting you.
And if you think of the brain like a computer, ADHD can impact the hardware, like the components of the brain, and also the software, like the programs we run to get stuff done. So there are brain differences in the hardware, like the thalamus is a part of your brain that kind of is like the gatekeeper for impulses. And sometimes the thalamus sort of leaves the gate open. So you'll see some impulsivity with ADHD.
So everyone is different. So, siblings, boys and girls, different ages. So ADHD and ADD can look very different.
There are sort of three kind of buckets you could think of ADHD in. There's the hyperactivity bucket where you see more of the impulsivity and like the need for movement and need for constant stimulation. And then there's the ADD without the hyperactivity, which is more the inattentive type. Like it's really hard to manage your focus. And sometimes people with inattentive ADHD sort of go inside their own brains for excitement because the outside world stops being stimulating enough. Or there's the combined type where you've got the hyperactivity and the inattention.
It can affect them academically, it can affect them socially, so sometimes it's hard for them to have really good relationships sometimes with friends because their impulsivity or hyperactivity affects that sometimes. Some people will tell me that it feels like their brain is always on the go, and sometimes it makes their body feel like they're always on the go. And so some people describe it as impulsivity.
There are so many misconceptions, right? Like it's a choice or you're not trying hard enough. And those ones really hurt my heart because we wouldn't say that about something physical that we could see, yet because it's invisible in somebody's brain, sometimes people say that.
When people are diagnosed with ADHD and ADD, that they automatically get diagnosed and get the medications, which I think is very untrue. The main thing that we want to do is make sure we identify a patient with the condition because we want to make sure that they get academic accommodations.
I would say one misconception is that it's a issue of effort, meaning that if you just try harder, it'll go away, because you can't try harder and change your brain chemicals, right?
The important thing is actually the evaluation.
First, really research and understand, because that's going to help address the misconceptions. And then also ask somebody, if somebody's comfortable talking about their ADHD, to tell you what it's like so that you get a better understanding. And very quickly, you'll realize that it's not a choice or a bad behavior, and it has nothing to do with somebody's character. It's just they have a brain that has different hardware and software.
Now that we know what the doctors say, why don't we ask some people that actually have ADHD what they think about it?
Living with ADHD, it can be hard at times when I'm at work and stuff like that, because there's so much stuff going on and it's hard for me to stay focused.
As a person with ADHD, I don't know what it's like to not have ADHD. There are a lot of experiences that I think of as normal that might not be normal to another person, but I think ADHD has definitely benefited my creativity.
I always have to take a few moments to slow down my brain and process things a little bit better.
So I am fairly good at being able to make things up in my head, whether it's a design for a project or a scenario, which can kind of backfire sometimes. It can make it a bit harder to focus on people during conversations.
And some strategies I used, if I was noticing that I would get off task, I would start asking more questions about the topic, and that usually helped a lot with staying with the class and being productive.
It can make teamwork a little bit interesting because I do have a bit of a problem with procrastination, so it's really important for me to hold myself accountable for team projects and activities where I'm working with other people.
With both those things about ADHD, I feel like I more know how it impacts me and some ways that I can deal with it. So that about wraps it up. Bye. Whoa, we're not done yet. I have had an opinion and would like to share my thoughts on this and what I do. I generally get up, like when I feel like I need to move, I get up and go get some water, or have a fidget that I use to fidget with instead of fidgeting with my pencil to kind of keep that energy inside me better expressed. Now we're really done.